sit down at home decided to watch some TV, listening to the news like Gordon Mosley. I listening to the things that he say he tracking tonight, paying close attention to make sure I hear it right. But when I hear the things that he mentioned on the news, I had to declare them kind of thing got me confused. I hear some things where the ERC noticing, and it convinced me that people ain't learning nothing. We hear so many times about them big name calling, and they say the ERC pretend that they didn't learn nothing. But once you're black and you just decide to say a word or two, bet your life on that they say the ERC coming for you. Listen to the things you just hear on social media. Only one set of people allowed to talk in one Guyana. I still say nothing, black people in learning. But this is my concern. I hope one day black people will learn. ERC that I would like to know, if any of its members happens to be black people. And if that is the case, I want them to answer this call. Tell me how come none of them ain't got no voice at all. You're showing signs of weakness and you're afraid to be fair, and we see the same thing keep happening year after year. And the day will come when all this nonsense will stop. That will be the day when black people decide to wake up. Not so long ago, something terrible happened. This young Indian man want to kill out all black people by poison. But if his shoes was on the other foot, would have been a big threat. But up to this day, this ERC can do nothing as yet. How come it's only black people committing cybercrime? When pretty on social media fussing people all the time, I still say black people in learning. But one day will come when the entire table will turn. Excuse me, see they fail to condemn, because these people think that the law is only for them. And anybody else who decide to file a complaint, they go call you a racist and don't want to hear nothing. Plenty complaint from time to time has been brought to their attention, but because of this one-sided cybercrime is why they don't show any concern. There's only one set of people that they really care about, and black people must take the abuse and shut them out. Kidaki Amsterdam went to court just recently for an issue that was highlighted by the same ERC. And with breakneck speed, the police decide to jump on his case. Without a search warrant, they went and search up the man's place. Let us all agree that black people under attack. Different laws for you and me just because we black. I still singing. Black people in London. To all my black friends, we must put a stop to all this nonsense. Many in the cybercrime laws to keep people silent, just to make sure nobody criticizes government. And while that is a very clear case of dictatorship, it is no surprise that the ERC ignoring it. Why only the chosen few is allowed to have things their way, when people like me and you must have nothing to say? And when ministers in the government start to launch their attack, you never hear this ERC come out and talk about that. They send a policeman all the way to New York. This fella went up there to serve a customer on Rick Fort. Under this thing, this government decide to fabricate a case, but like they forget the warning they get from Black T-shirt jails. The vice president is prepared to use as a low life. Because of this kind of abuse, he don't have a wife. I still singing. Black people in learning. Just the other day, I hope your man see help is on the way.
APNU Coalition campaign now moves to the east coast of Demerara, Melanie Village, on Sunday, the 20th of July, at the Melanie Shopping Plaza from 4 p.m. Come hear from our candidates. Come hear about our people-centered development strategy that puts people first. Come hear from our Prime Ministerial candidate, Jurita Fernandez, our presidential candidate, Aubrey C. Norton, and others on Sunday, July 20th from 4 p.m. The Melanie Shopping Plaza will vibrate with a people-powered campaign. APNU, putting people first.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in town, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, mwah. Listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But you know, whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right? On your to-do list. You know, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you. All right, so you might be wondering where we are. Still in Buxton at Club Twilight. That's where we are. So Club Twilight also has like an Airbnb as well. So you could come, drink, drunk, and come in the back here and lie down. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. And the people come in the room and so on. The bed sheet matching the blind, matching the carpet, matching the this, matching the that. We know but we things in Buxton don't play with we. So definitely if you want to come and you may be having a wedding or whatever and you just want to overnight and just have a good time because you're going to be drunk. We got too much road accidents. So you definitely want to come drink, have a good time. They have several rooms that you can rent. You have your toilet, you have your bath, you have your sink, you have your dining area, you have the bed. This is nice. I like it. Anyways, to my friends and my family, if you're looking for me, I'll be overnighting. Also, for those persons who are traveling in from overseas, you want a nice, cozy place out of town, then Club Twilight, call them up, look them up on social media. They have their own Facebook page, and ensure that you come up the side and have a good time. Have a good time. Have a good time. I'm sorry. That's it.
How many bowel movements do you have a day? If the answer is one or less, we need to talk. Everything starts in the gut. Toxins, bloating, constipation, even parasites can build up silently, affecting your mood, your skin, your immune system, and your energy. Ultra Body Cleanse is a simple 15-day system. Morning tablet to flush from the inside. Nighttime tea to detox and reset. People don't realize it, but most problems start in the gut. And when you clean it out, you feel lighter, you look healthier. You finally go. Like you should. Don't wait for symptoms. Ask your artist distributor today how to start your Ultra Body Cleanse.
Don't be a victim. Beat the heat with EC Crystals. Party ice in large and small quantities. Call 682-7981 or visit us at Club Twilight, Sideline Dam, Buxton North. EC Crystals, pure party ice.
We're not up against the government giving house lots that date back to 2002, but we are up against a situation where our people cannot own a home. And we are saying to you, we will implement a rent-to-own housing scheme so that the average man who doesn't have money to go for a mortgage can get a house. And don't let them say it cannot be done. We did it with South Rhineveld. We did it with Tuckville. We did it with Guyhawk. We did it in Bartica. We did it all across this country, and we will do it again.
Are you looking for tents to rent? Well, look no further. At Easy Party Rentals, Sideline Dam, Buxton North, we have tents in all sizes and colors. All sizes of tents we have. Small tents, big tents, medium tents, extra large tents. Call us on 622-5933. We have what you need. Easy Party Rentals. Big on tents. Planning a party? Worry no more. We have all the supplies you need. At Easy Party Rentals, we have folding chairs, folding tables, square tables, round tables, long tables, short tables, big tables. We have chairs, red chairs, gold chairs, white chairs, crystal chairs, chairs of all type, throne chairs. What you want, we have. Food warmers, coolers, ice, beverages. At Easy Party Rentals, we have what you need to have a good time. You plan the party, we do the work. Call us 622-5933. Easy Party Rentals. Let's keep your party going.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T and W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rhineveld Market Meat section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T and W. Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
Hey, Guyana, time to rise up, time to move up. Hey, me and you in the place. Hey, we put people first. Oh, hey. From Essequibo straight to Berbice, Guyana people want justice and peace. From quarantine water to Demerara shore, we tie up promises, we want more. Hey. No more lies, no more disguise. It's time for we dreams to realize. We coming strong with people power. APNU hour, this is we hour. APNU, say people first. We not gonna stop till the blessings burst. APNU, we putting people first. Time to rise up, break the curse. Future bright like a brand new day. We giant lead in a real big way. APNU, say people first. From the top to the bottom, love, unity, blazing, vision clear. Guyanese strong, no space for fear. We got the rhythm, we got the fire. Lifting every village higher and higher. No more fights, no more delay. We come to build Guyana today. From Lettenbush to Bartica Base, every face got a place in this race. We done with the brokenness, done with the slack. We're taking the country forward, no turning back. Who you voting? APNU. Why we voting? Tell the nation. We putting people first. Time to rise up, break the curse. Future bright like a brand new day. We giant lead in a real big way. APNU, say people first. From the top to the bottom, of unity blazing, vision clear. Guyanese strong, no space for fear. Every youth, every elder stand tall. This Guyana belong to us all. From the market woman to the king cutter hand, we building up this blessed land. APNU got the plan, got the drive. Putting people first, keeping up alive. So wind up, jump up, move with pride. We waving them flag nationwide. Say, are you ready? Say, we go vote. Say, APNU. People first. APNU, we putting people first. Time to rise up, break the curse. Future bright like a brand new day. We giant lead in a real big way. APNU, say people first. From the top to the bottom, of unity blazing, vision clear. Guyanese strong, no space for fear. We outside in sun and rain. We putting people first again. APNU, we lead the line. Time for Guyana to rise and shine. I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Can't take it no more. Imagine 18 hours of blackout and you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%, yet you give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public base. Then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how evil set up. The people fed up.
What is giving you hope that we are in a better place and we are going to be in a better place after September 1? Where does your hope come from? Talk to me. Don't worry, something you're doing. It's part of the programming. No, man, you can't call me now. You know the time for program. You ain't got no behavior. No behavior, you know that. You like doing your own thing. Everybody wants to know. Well, I don't know. So, yeah, don't run me down. Oh, I'll burn out, man. I don't care. TikTok doesn't want me to go live. Yeah, so talk to me. Oh, y'all do. How was y'all yesterday, last night, and so?
What you all achieved yesterday, what you all plan to achieve today, and so. You must just behave, you must just think this over your man sometime, but be over your man. I just have an analytical mind. I just pay attention to the happenings. And so if you pay attention to the happenings, then it's natural that you should be able to pronounce on the happenings. I tell you all yesterday, but y'all didn't believe me. I tell you all even before yesterday, that money will spend, a lot of money is going to spend to show all right, before me even talk about it. Flash Garden, how come I fool you by? Talk to me. What did I fool you with? Right? But before I get into the program proper, let me say condolences to those persons who have lost their loved ones and relatives in Buxton. As I understand that there was a shooting in Buxton last night, south of the railway line, Church of God Road, what we call Bagram side. Yes, that's where I'm from, Bagram side. My understanding is that there was an execution hit, whatever you want to call it, which happened there yesterday, last night. So far, 2 persons are confirmed dead. One is a villager, a neighbor to where the shooting took place, and the other is a visitor from outside of the village, a patron of the place where the shooting took place. Where the shooting took place is, from my understanding, because me have been there, how me get them, me sell them. There's a little drinking spot, a little hangout spot, a little chill spot down at the back there. Where people hang out, they drink the liquor, they gaff, they play the games and so on. It's a relaxation spot, a chill spot. And so I understand a group of people out there doing the regular, and a vehicle of some sort pulled up, and apparently there was an exchange of gunfire. At the end of it all, or when, as we see, when the dust settled or when the gun smoke settled, 2 persons were found dead. One youngster shot to his head, perhaps, something like that. An Indo-Guyanese who was a part of the gathering at the back of the village here was also killed in that shooting. Several persons are now hospitalized. I understand one particular youngster is, as we like to say, fighting for his life. He maybe have suffered the worst of those who are still alive. I understand he was shot to the chest. And so there are several persons hospitalized, being treated, etc., for gunshot wounds. It's an unfolding story, so there's not much else that can be said. When the YAP is asking what is the motive, I am not a member of the Ghana Police Force, Wendy. With all due respect, I will not hazard a guess as to the motive. Let the police make their statements and say what is the motive or what the investigations reveal. I ain't about to get myself mixed up in anything that perhaps doesn't concern me. Some people, I was on the road, some people are saying it's political. The PPP is trying to stir up problems, or somebody is trying to stir up problems because it's election season, they send people to shoot up in Buxton. That is what they're saying. And when the person told me that, I made what a friend of mine considered a harsh statement. I said, I don't want to hear the story. Y'all don't tell me. Right? And that was my response. Thinking outside the box, I'm thinking if you want to stir up election problem by starting something in Buxton, it would be safer for you just drive on the public road and shoot up whoever you want to shoot up. I think it would be foolhardy if you want to start election problem to go deep down into the back of the village and shoot up people, because the possibility ain't gonna get to come out back. That's just how I'm thinking. Commercial playing, what are you talking about? You hearing things? Anybody else hearing commercial? Because I'm not hearing anything else playing. Right? But one of the things which dawned on me when I heard what happened is how open, how unprotected, how vulnerable Buxton remains as a community. Right? Some people will argue that Buxton was open, unprotected, vulnerable for quite a long time. But when it is somebody can dare to go to the back of the village, deep down in the back of the village, and commit such a dastardly act, and come out of the village unchallenged, it says a lot for me. And my understanding, it was early in the night. Somebody said just after 9, before 10. That is my understanding. I don't know if that timing is accurate, but that is what I was told. Just after 9, before 10. Good. And so my assumption is that you must have had some amount of movements on the streets and so on. But for somebody to dare to do that suggests to me a level of boldness and definitely a level of collusion. As I will like to see, the enemies within, definitely enemies within. Right? In that it must be somebody who knows the village, and feel comfortable enough that they can actually enter and exit the village comfortably. Right? But the police shall do their investigations. The police might be able to give us motives. Eventually, I'm sure we're going to get a full list of the people who are dead and those who are seriously injured and those who just got a scrape here or a scrape there. But apart from the fact that it points out for me the vulnerability of the village, it also says to me, again, that these are not the time that people want to be on the streets, even for the purposes of leisure. Get your business done, get in your house. Stay there. You want leisure? Get leisure in your house. If you want to knock 2 things, come knock them. You want to watch TV, watch TV. You want play music, play music. Because we know that coming up to elections is always the silly season. And a lot of people who have vendetta actually capitalize on this silly season to blame it on elections and to blame it on, the chaos that surrounds elections. Sometimes it's not always elections related. And so I want to plead with people, stay off the street. Stay off the street, please. Stay off the street. You got no business on the street, stay off the street, unless being on the street is your business. And what people used to say, only certain kind of people must be on the street after certain hours at night. I hate to think that those people who got caught up in that incident last night are those kind of people. Right? And for those who are asking, I'm safe. As you can see, I'm safe. My family is safe, thank God. We usually try to stay out of the fray. Good? Walk a straight and narrow way for the greater part. I'm the only upstart in my family now. And I'm uncontrollable, because if I were controllable, then by now this program would have been off the air, because they would love for me to get off the air. They'd love for me to stop criticizing the government and doing political commentary and so on. For all you know, they would love for me to stay far from the politics of this country, because like many, they believe that it's frighteningly dangerous and it's a nasty game, as some people put it, and so on and so forth. But I always ask them to understand, especially my children. Y'all understand that I'm doing this not because I want fame or popularity. I'm doing this because I believe it is something that is necessary if Guyana is going to get good governance. And I'm doing this very well knowing that my contributions through doing this might very well give you an easier time in the future as citizens of this country, and that you don't have to go through what many of us go through as citizens of this country. You don't have to face the discrimination based on ethnicity. You don't have to face discrimination based on corruption. The fight is for us to have good governance so that our citizens can thrive according to their ability and possibilities. And that's the way I do it. Because the next generation deserves better. And so, like I usually say, this is only my little contribution to trying to create a better future for Guyanese. Right? Good. And I shudder to think what it would be if folks like myself do not make the sacrifices we make to fight for a better Guyana. I, over the years, have come to learn the value of my vote, and I try to teach people the value of their vote. And I hope our young people can step back and consider the value of their vote and the value of their political support for anyone. Because unless they place real value on it, then they take it for granted. They throw it out there, or they give it away for a pittance, and then they will live to face the consequences. I was saying, today is what, Wednesday? I was saying Monday, nomination day, and yesterday. And a lot of money will be spent to impress the public, because perception is everything, as some people say. That this political grouping or that political grouping has a large following and strength, and therefore got a good chance of winning the elections. I did say also that because a lot of money is being spent, a lot of people believe that WIN has a good chance of running down the PPP, because in the financial order of things, they argue that WIN is the only political party in this country that can match the PPP spending, because its leader is a quote-unquote multi-billionaire, Guyanese multi-billionaire, Azudin Mohammed. And so, as is evidenced by the crowd or the turnout on nomination day, I said, hey, money talking, bullshit working. But look at the demographics. There's a whole lot of young African Guyanese who are standing in support of WIN. if you look at the list of candidates for WIN, you'd come to understand and come to realize that more than 50% of them are from Region 4. I want you to pay attention to these numbers now. More than 50% are from Region 4. Region 4 is the APNU coalition stronghold. Region 4 is critical to winning the election for the opposition APNU. The majority of them are Black people, African Guyanese on that list. The African Guyanese community is critical to the APNU coalition winning the election. And so when you consider those things, the only conclusion you can come to is WIN represents a threat to the African Guyanese community. Getting a government, as in the APNU coalition, that would really and truly look into their interests. And so when you look at those numbers, you say, wait, we are our own worst enemies. A whole lot of those people on the list for WIN are African Guyanese, basically agreeing with an Indo-Guyanese businessman, multi-billionaire, turned political leader, to split the vote of African Guyanese and therefore reduce the possibilities of the African Guyanese dominated APNU coalition winning the election. And so I ask myself, where is the thinking of these people? They hate themselves that much that they're prepared to do harm to themselves to prove a point? So I want to ask all those who line up on T. Mohammed Win's list, all those African Guyanese especially, what are y'all doing there? What do you expect to achieve for the Afro-Guyanese community, first and foremost, and secondly, for this nation by being there? What are the possibilities of WIN being victorious in these elections, taking control of the government? I don't see any possibility. And if WIN cannot win the election, but can erode the electoral support of the APNU coalition, then you are placing yourself as a member of the African Guyanese community, and as a member of the Guyanese society, in danger. Because in short, you are creating space for the PPP to remain in government and continue to do the wickedness that it has been doing to this country. But it would appear that even educated people, or people who claim to be educated, and an African Guyanese prides his or herself in being educated. We like to talk about with degrees and so on. And even people with their degrees and so on seem not to understand what their involvement with WIN is endangering in this country. Let me call some names that I noticed on the WIN list. Yeah, I'm going to be direct this morning. Some people going to vex. Tabitha Sarabo Hali. I said I wasn't going to comment much on her presence there. But I'll tell you why I will comment now. I'll show you a video shortly. And I will comment then. Or I will give justification for my comment. Sis, what do you expect to achieve by being with WIN at this moment in the political history of this country? I saw a video with you saying that the Guyanese have spoken, they want something different. And if they say they want something different, you weigh your options and you join the WIN team. What do you hope to achieve? Do you believe WIN will be victorious in this election? Is there a slight possibility even that WIN will be victorious in this election and therefore get the monkey off our backs that we call the PPP? Having seen matters unfold yesterday, I want to ask you another question. What's the value of your vote? What's the value of your presence at WIN? What's the reward expected from your presence at WIN? I see the aunt of Adriana Young. Amika, I think her name is. Miss Amika. And I think I saw the mother also. Can't remember the mother's name. Y'all forgive me for that. But I want to ask these two relatives who just lost the beautiful young angel, Adriana. Do you believe in your heart that WIN would be victorious at these elections and therefore can deliver justice to you for the murder of Adriana? Huh? Do you seriously believe so? Are you prepared to, I don't know, I would say squander the possibility of getting justice for Adriana by choosing to go in a direction that does not guarantee the PPP out of office? I can't find the logic. And the aunt is a lecturer at the University of Ghana. And so, like I say, we like pride ourselves in our education. And so here is an individual who is educated and is expected to be educating others, but making, in my mind, an irrational decision. I say it is irrational, or is it selfishness? Because rumor has it that it is projected that Azzuddin Mohammed will name a University of Ghana lecturer as his prime ministerial candidate. Is that the offer that was made to this young lady? And did she actually believe it? That even if she's named prime ministerial candidate, does she believe that she will actually become a prime minister in this country as a member of WIN? I am declaring this morning that if you join WIN, you lose. If you join WIN, you lose. Because the reality is, WIN cannot, not in this electoral cycle, not in this short period of time. Maybe if they do serious work and continue to do serious work from now, to catch the next electoral cycle, they might have a chance at winning seats, etc. I don't even believe they will have a chance of unseating the administration of Diddy. But no, as in no, this election, September 1st election, I don't see Win getting any close to unseating the PPP. And since the majority of its support is coming from apparently African Guyanese, I see Win standing in the way of the APNU removing the PPP from government. Is that what y'all want? Amicia and Anika and whatever the names are, is that what you want? How are you getting justice for your child? By taking actions that will ensure that the PPP remains or increase the possibility of the PPP remaining in power. The people want good governance. Paraphrasing Tabitha Sarbo Hali, the people want good governance. How they getting this good governance if the PPP stays in power? From where I sit, a vote for Win is always going to be a vote for the PPP. A vote for Win is always going to be a vote for the PPP. And it doesn't have to be a direct vote for the PPP. And that is what our people are doing. But I want to show you these two videos like I promised. Because I want our African Guyanese people to ask themselves, if it is, or if this is the value they place on their vote, and if this is how they hope to achieve good governance, and if that is how they hope to achieve economic freedom by removing the PPP from office. If that is your methods, then I shudder to think that you in thinking.
How many bowel movements do you have?
Don't be.
You can get
How we get pulled over in Guyana by the Guyana police force?
Tomorrow to talk about it, you're gonna call and talk to Doggy and think. If we are going to help you, are going to your name in the book. Your name in the book. Your name is in the book. Yeah, we're sitting to my party. You're gonna tell them like a scene. People to go on the phone and tape it. And you say I come in the box of Cossie, and you come. Jump on the box of Cossie for $50,000. And we gonna put last on your mother's son. We gonna definitely put you in jail. You are too big and wicked. You are coming yesterday. You are even sharing things. You are flinging the crowd and start sharing too. No, I want the man. The man will pay you $50,000. You will tell you, respect. Oh, come on, my name. I tell you, respect the name. He's a very businessman and a business wise. You know how to do things in the right way. After you out of Coffee Square, what that would you gonna pay? You're gonna do things professional way. Don't feel how come this nigga smart character wrong election time for bring on this man out to joke him on. The man's a millionaire. All the y'all out they gotta respect the man. The man's a millionaire. He could pay you that money. He could pay that money. Respect the man. And the set I part and then you have tape I said to the fucking news people for type this is a party on yesterday. Oh God. What the kind of corruption Guyanese is this? What kind of passing Guyana? Why you can't do things in professional ways? Professional, you claim you got education and you got degree, you don't have no sense. Then take out your phone and start saying, hey, come off me like, there you go. Go off me, never roll. Don't tell me calm down. Don't come tomorrow and talk to the man and be professionals. Don't go on him and say go for life because the man, because I tell you, if I see anyone that go on life because the man, me and Dad will find you out to the police and put you between court. And I know I am broke like that. And we can't any like court. Because we know best on the court. Don't do the skirt out there. Yeah, live in the book. Yeah, the man that you are Doggy, the stupidness. Hey, Doggy. Talk to Doggy in private car, Doggy, phone, have a discussion, Doggy. Doggy want to talk to you. Oh, you that coffee square and sit the yellow there. Be a very bad on the bitch come out for bitch. Suck you wanna come now. Talk to Doggy. The boss could talk to you private. What are we away tomorrow morning to talk to the person? You're not going to shame the man like that? And looking very, 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 very fucking shame. And you have to go there and say that thing.
I don't know what you see there, but I can tell you what I see. Just as the PPP is using black people, African Guyanese, to destroy African Guyanese, WIN, and by extension, Azruddin Mohammed is doing the same. This guy they call Doggy is WIN henchman, a public face, the link between WIN and the quote-unquote scripts. What you see unfolding at the square of the revolution there is a fallout between a representative of WIN in the person of Doggy and persons who joined the parade for WIN with an understanding that they will be paid. Understanding money offered was $50,000. $50,000. Are we saying that our freedom, our economic upliftment lies in a $50,000 payout to support a political party which by now we should understand can't win the election but will reduce the chances of the APNU winning the election, when the APNU is in a better position to look into and serve our interests? Are we saying that's the value of our vote? $50,000, assuming it is $50,000 as argued? And so you all fall for this bait because they get rich quick or die trying. The no for no, the greed, the licky attitude. $50,000 to join Mohammed parade, and the parade is big because everybody wants $50,000. But instead of $50,000, at the end of the day, we end up with is abuse. I'm calling on all the women, including my dear sister Tabitha Sarwahali. St. Louis, Hastings, to say to the public, we are standing this abuse of a sister, this assault on a sister, the deception on all of those people who came out to support WIN as a political party based on a promise of payment. I challenge y'all to tell the public where you are standing though. Now, better, the people said they want something different. But they offered something different, looking at the behavior of a representative of WIN to a so-called or presumed supporter of WIN. Where's the differences? Where is the difference? I challenge you all to state publicly your position on that beating. Fatah says, y'all could have called Doggy and Taki privately. Y'all could have called Mohammed and Taki privately about the $50,000, but your name was in the book. You were supposed to put your name in the book. Did you put your name in the book? Is there a law against such practices? Is there a law against such practices electorally? Buying up political support, is there a law? The AML-CFT, Anti-Money Laundering, Countering of Financing of Terrorism. AML-CFT, and then they got FATF. Financial, I can't remember what the FATF is for. But in all of that suite of legislation there, one of the things they aim to do, was to prevent political organizations or political parties being used as pawns, or political activists being used as pawns in money laundering, in financing of terrorism, in corruption, etc., etc. So I'm asking, are there crimes being committed, even as we talk about the people want a change, the people want something different? Looking at that which took place there, are we saying that WIN is different to the PPP? Remember Barry Ramsaran? I will have my girls strip and slap you. abuse of women. Remember Vashni, husband, so-called husband, locked her out of the bedroom and left her to provide a feast to the mosquitoes, etc. Verbal and financial and all kinds of abuse, emotional and so on. What makes this different to what we saw being unfolded with a representative of WIN? Black people, stop selling yourself for cheap. All of y'all would join the list as candidates to win. It ain't too late. Utilize the energy. Join the campaign for the coalition. You stand a better chance of removing the PPP, assuming that that is what you want. You want to remove the PPP. Unless my assumption is contrary to what you want. Because some are claiming that you are doing this just out of selfishness. But how long your selfishness will bring you rewards? That's the question. I'll tell you all about the Machiavellian principle. Get them a little sweet, and they're going to be endeared to you because they're going to always want sweet. That is the problem with many of our people who've been in the National Assembly. They've been to Parliament maybe for 2 electoral cycles. Some of them went for 2 electoral cycles. Some of them might have just gone for 1 electoral cycle. And they came to realize, as I say, that they could have sat their backsides in there and do very little and get a better pay than the average public servant, monthly, tax-free. Get allowances better than the average public servant, including duty-free concession. And so they enjoy the street, whether for 1 parliamentary term or 2 parliamentary terms. And so they believe that they got this entitlement to continue to enjoy the street. And so even if it means throwing your people under the bus all the time to get a sweet, you will throw them under the bus all the time to get a sweet because only you matter. Only you matter. The people that you call in your supporters, the people that you're pretending to represent, the people that you claiming to represent, the people that you're encouraging to stand with you, at the end of the day, really don't matter. Because at best, you stand a chance of getting a seat in the National Assembly, not a government to change anything. And that is all that matters. I'm asking all of y'all who there with WIN and ganging up behind WIN and so on. If WIN gets 1 seat in Parliament, 2 seats, let me go as far as 3 seats in Parliament, 5 seats in Parliament, what will they be able to do for you to change your situation? What will they be able to do for you? What policies will they be able to implement to change your situation? Versus showing your support behind the APNU WPA coalition, which stands a better chance with your support of removing the PPP from office. Young people, they're offering you the opportunity to own not only land but homes through the rent-to-own program. Remember, under the last coalition, the age applied to Ministry of Housing for house lot was reduced to 18. There's a possibility of that being reinstated with the APNU in government. Those of you who want to go to university, they say university free. But consider what $600,000 a year can do for you as a university student. That's your stipend that the APNU is promising to deliver to you once they get into government. If you're a university student, they are currently guarantee you a stipend of $600,000 a year. Public servants. A return to collective bargaining and a willingness to give as much as 35% increase in wages and salaries. WIN can't tell us up to now what their policies are, number one. But number two, even if they have, quote unquote, superior policies than those that I've mentioned here, do they have a superior chance of winning the election to deliver those policies? You're either dumb, deaf, intellectually lazy, or pure selfish. Remember, from where I sit, when I look out, all I've seen coming out of WIN thus far is a division of the African Guyanese community, a splitting of the votes, black on black violence in the name of an Indo-Guyanese-led political party. Others can't call it like that. I could call it though. And I've called it. And again, I'm asking all them black people, what line up behind WIN? What is your vote valued? 5,000? 50,000? A promise of a motorcycle? I'm sorry for you. But it's too late. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. 6225933 is the number to call. And while we're talking about WIN, understand. Hello, hi, good morning. How y'all do? Morning, how you morning? Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It's 26 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. It is Thursday, the 17th day of July in the year 2025. How are you? How was your yesterday? How was your last night? How are you feeling this morning? Have you been able to rest and recuperate? Are you hopeful today? What gives you hope? Where is your enthusiasm coming from? It's Thursday, it's Winston Jordan's morning to talk about the economics and politics and so on. But you know, as usual, I just got to put him to bed before anything else. The other night I went to Golden Grove side. Well, the other evening, yesterday was what, Wednesday? Maybe Tuesday evening I went for a quick spin around Golden Grove. And I saw the PPP keeping meeting, man. The PPP had what they call a rally in Golden Grove. They had a roadside meeting in Golden Grove. As soon as you turn off the main road right there. And from my observations, the people who came were more than the people who came from within the village. I can tell you that. Cursory glance, the people who came were more than the people who came from within the village. That's number one. Number two, Frank Anthony was speaking when I was in the area. And that dirty liar, I don't know these banners sleep at night. I don't even know how their comrades see them after they make certain presentations. The PPP left the C.C. Nicholson Hospital to run down to nothing because it's in an Afro-Guyanese community, Victoria to be exact. And they were invested in the Enmore, used to be Polytechnic Clinic, I think they call it. And now they have constructed in place of the Polytechnic Clinic, the Enmore Regional Hospital. But Frank Anthony is there telling residents of Golden Grove and surrounding communities that the PPP has the best interest at heart. And it was the coalition government that neglected the C.C. Nicholson Hospital. Frank Anthony is telling residents of Golden Grove and surrounding communities that the government cares, the PPP cares about their health and well-being. And so they're giving them a grant for dialysis. Are our people's memory so short that they can't remember that the coalition government established in a couple of regions to start with free dialysis clinics? Definitely there was an arrangement, a contractual arrangement, if I can call it that, with Dubé Medical, which is at Annandale, for free dialysis to people in this region or this locale. In Borbis, there was also an arrangement for Borbicians to get free dialysis. And Frank Anthony got the gumption to stand before sane people, I would assume, among his colleagues. And what people say, light through teeth about these things. I mean, I'm going to spend the entire morning to discuss Frank Anthony and the PPP's lies. But I just want to put that out there for you. Since Noah was a boy, overseas-based Buxtonians invested their money and their time and their energy and their intellect to propose and design and renovate what is now the Buxton Health Center, to bring it to the state to make it a cottage hospital. That is what it's supposed to be, a cottage hospital. For all the years the PPP has been in power, they have not made an effort to move that idea forward. Buxtonians can tell you with the coalition in government, you could have, that is when it started, you could have gone to the Buxton Health Center and your blood test. You didn't have to run all over the place to go and get blood tests and urine tests and this test and all the tests. All the samples were taken off right at the Buxton Health Center. By the time the PPP took over, You had one or two dentists, dental technicians, or whatever you call them, at the Buxton Health Center. And when you walk into Elmore Polyclinic, you got 5 and 6. All I'm asking Guyanese people, all I'm asking, especially my black brothers and sisters, y'all don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. The PPP will love you up now for the next 30, 40 days, how many it is. They will love you up. They're going to be the best thing after sliced bread. And after September 1st, you on your own, I warn y'all. Look all around your communities. If you see Buxton, man, well lit. Every street in Buxton got garbage bags packed up alongside the roadside. As a matter of fact, the newly minted contractors from Buxton are working into the night, because I'm sure they got a deadline by which they got complete cleaning. Are you only now recognizable for a contract to clean up your neighborhood that the PPP has refused for several years to give resources to the NDC to get done? I hope we are paying attention to these things, and out of selfishness and greed and ignorance, we don't fall trap. And give the PPP our vote. The time has come for the PPP to be kicked very far away from government. And when you kick them from government, the replacement must be held accountable and be held to a higher standard. I'm saying this every day, and I always say it. Any government I'm a part of, they got to do better than the PPP, and they will do better than the PPP. I see one of them call themselves Mandela Ghani. Saying to me, I divide in the people. And my leader, Walter Rodney, was for unity. This might be hurtful to the ears of some people. I don't consider myself a Rodneyite. I have tremendous respect for that intellectual. I have tremendous respect for Rodney as a politician, a political leader. But when Rodney was murdered in 1980, I was only a 7-year-old. My politics is mostly influenced by UC Quana. Because when I became politically aware, I was in the presence of UC Quana more than anything else. And so don't come and pelt the Walter Rodney thing at me and hope that you're going to cause me to step away from my position. One of the things I know, and you say I'm dividing the races, or I'm calling for division. Never did I, and never will I. I speak truth. I analyze situations as they are, as I call them as they are. And the one thing I know about Walter Rodney is that he was responding to the times. He was responding to the times. And written through the WPA, he worked among Indians and he worked among every ethnicity in this country to challenge what he considered poor governance at that time. And he encouraged and led African Guyanese to support the cause of Indo-Guyanese who it was perceived were being discriminated against at that time. I want you to show me the Indian equivalent, the Indo-Guyanese equivalent of Wazirani this time, who has stepped up to the plate, who has stepped up and said, hey, this PPP, this Indian-dominated PPP government is not doing just by the citizens of this country, and it is oppressing African Guyanese. Let us join our hearts and hands with them and confront this Indian-dominated government to do better. I challenge you, Mandela Gani, to show me that Indian leader. It is the PPP and the enablers that destroyed the legacy of unity among Indo and Afro-Guyanese, political unity. It is the PPP and the enablers who destroyed that after they got into power in 1992. So don't bring it here. And I'm going to repeat it for you. It is the PPP and the enablers who destroyed political unity among the races, ethnicities in this country once they got into power in 1992. Because our time now. And if you're trying to insinuate that Azruddin Mohammed represents different to the PPP, and Azruddin Mohammed has unity at heart, I'm going to remind you that Azruddin Mohammed's father said that when Donna McKinnon, an African Guyanese woman who was fighting for democracy in this country, was murdered outside of Freedom House, they had guns in Freedom House. I will hasten to remind you that when the Phantom squads and the killing squads and this squad and that squad was murdering African Guyanese youths in the streets of Guyana in defense of the PPP lawlessness, the Mohammeds were right there with them. So Azruddin Mohammed and the Mohammeds in general, they're newly minted, then freshly born, then just fall out of the sky to come on the political scene. They were there all the time alongside with the PPP, doing harm to African Guyanese in this country. And in case you really want to explain it to you, the only reason Mohammed Azruddin is running for political office right now is because he and his friends in the PPP got it falling out and he is sanctioned. Because up until 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, they were in bed together. You want to know why I know that? Because when critics was cussing black people and telling them they're hungry belly, and the religious leaders got to do all kinds of things to them, the studio from which he was cussing black people was financed by the Mohammeds. It's not I say so, it's Shell Mohammed says so. You want me to continue? I can continue, not this morning though, tomorrow or another day. But I think you get the message by now. Don't throw this shit at my door. Carry it where it rightly belongs. At the door of the PPP and at the door of the Mohammeds. And all them young black youths who are running behind the Mohammed for $5,000. I got for cost just now. God, thank you for holding my mouth for $5,000 and even $50,000. I pray the day they're going to see the light. I pray the day they will see the light. Because of 5,000 and 50,000 come with a lot of abuse. Doggy was just the tip of the iceberg. Doggy and girls or whatever she named, that was just the tip of the iceberg. When you make yourself grass, ass, like Doggy and the rest of the win party, gonna shit on you. I said what I said. You don't like it? Do what you think you could about it. In the meantime, let me call Mr. Winston Jordan. Outside. Just now commented. I said like you abandoned ship like how Doggy abandoned win. Morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. How you do? How you do? How you do, Kedaki? How you do?
I there.
You there? Yes. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, thankful Thursday. The sun is out. We had a bit of rain over the last week. I think it's funny because sometimes rain is be falling in the south. And if I left here now and go downtown and so on, it dry like bone. So, and the Kodonga, them cane fields and so on that we had in the putting up ones at the concrete. So I don't know how rain still falling here with the intensity and the frequency in which it does. But rain, I ain't complaining. I smiling because, with GWI and them, you have to thank the Lord when you see the rain because at least you get fresh water, devoid of chemicals and rust and all these kinds of stories. So I'm not complaining, but it's just an observation. And so the sun is out. Hopefully it will stay out a bit to dry the clothes, towards the washing and so on. And yeah, thankful to be in the land of the living, man. And I say that with all the gusto that I could say it, because I'm a bit sad this morning. Sad because last Thursday when I finished my real pretty lengthy discourse on this on here, my usual place on Thursday mornings, I got a call from a dear friend out of Brooklyn. Normally, whenever I'm in New York, I'm at her and her husband. I got a call, and from the time I saw that call, I know it meant problems because normally we don't communicate that frequently on the thing. She's an ardent listener to this program and all of your programs on CAMS TV and a number of other programs. And I knew it had to be something to do with her husband, Leroy Charles, right? Who was an extremely dear friend of mine. He could have been a brother from another mother because from the time I knew him, he exhibited more than even what some family members would normally do. Right? He took me into his home whenever, as I said, whenever I'm in New York, I'm at them. And he would, ferry me because, it's not easy getting around New York, especially when you got to go certain places. And he will do it with all the gusto and everything else, quite a friend indeed, or more than just a friend. So when she called, I tried to make light of the conversation, and then she didn't beat around. She just said, Leroy is dead. Those stop heart kind of, thing that you get. Just like that. She says, Leroy is dead. And I said I couldn't believe it because I had just spoken to him the day before, not even the day before, it's the if you want to call it the day before. And she was reporting live. He had just died, and she was reporting from the hospital, and actually showing me in his death, dead. So as they say, life, we have to live it, because none of us know at the hour. All we know is that while we are here on God's earth, we have to make the best of it, because he, even though he was diagnosed with the big man in December 2023 and was near death's door at that time, he had made a remarkable recovery, to such an extent that he was able to travel twice to Guyana and had bought his ticket to come home to vote, and to superintend the building of his house, which is about 60% thereabout to completion. So all of that, as we say, is in the past. But for those who know him, his brother was Aubrey Charles, who was the general manager of MMA, and I'm told he's also a relative or brother to Dudley Charles, the famous artist. I haven't checked that one out. But for all those who know him, yes, he's no more. There will be a funeral service the 20th, which is Sunday coming, in Brooklyn at Curry Funeral Home on Utica Avenue. It's being live streamed on YouTube. And then his body will be flown home on the 22nd of July for service at Zor Congregational Church in Pleasance. I think it's Prince William Street, Pleasance, on the 25th, Saturday the 25th, and for interment at the Good for Acton Cemetery. I'll be there, and I'll be giving my tribute then, but may he continue to sleep in peace and transition well to the ancestors. I want to take the opportunity very early also to congratulate President Jennifer Jorlin Simons, who was inaugurated yesterday as the new president of Suriname. I hope with her inauguration that relations with Guyana will be fruitful and go beyond platitudes, because there are a number of outstanding matters that are critical to our relationship and which seem to just be buried, only to flare up at some of the most inopportune and inappropriate times. Foremost on that agenda is the settlement of our border controversy, and all the sniping and the incorrect maps that seem to float around as if that is going to change the reality of the fact that the New River Triangle is recognized internationally as our territory, and that in itself is keeping back progressive improvements in our relationship. The whole business about fishermen license and fishermen being harassed in the Quarantine River, the whole issue of the ownership of the Quarantine River, and all these kinds of things. So I hope her ascendancy to the presidency will help push those obstacles to greater progress between us. And I hope she will pay careful attention of our priorities. I will think for her, a priority is the people and not bridge across the Quarantine River. A costly bridge across the Quarantine River, which was being pushed by our predecessor and those here. They had different motives to the people. Don't let them fool you about connecting peoples and all kind of things. Guyana's population is about 800,000 max, if you're being generous. Suriname's is about 600,000 max. And you're trying to build a bridge, a prominent bridge costing multi-million US dollars, a bridge that is clearly not feasible economically and otherwise. You already got a ferry. And if you want, you could put another ferry. Ferries work very good between Belgium and London and France and all these kinds of stories. And they got millions of people, millions, right? Combined, we combine our two populations just 1.4 million people. That two roll-on ferries working simultaneously, just like how you used to work ferries on the Berbice River, one going, one coming. And it will do. But you're going to build bridge when Sonam can't even pay. They're trying to put Sonam in even more debt than they are in to build a bridge that could never be a priority. And it's not a priority for us, but we are wasting our monies, the windfall that God sent to us. This government is mismanaging and wasting our money. And when we eventually end up in the throes of the IMF, you're going to hear the IMF is bad because nobody is taking the warnings that we are wasting the little windfall that we got instead of investing it wisely and creaming off the income from that investment. Look, the CCJ is financed from a $100 million US seed money that was put up by the different governments of CARICOM to ensure the independence of financing of the CCJ. They exist from the income earned from that 100 million US. And we're talking here where billions had accumulated in the NRF and we have creamed off almost all of the money, thus realizing negligible earnings on the balance. We always talk about Norway being model. But do we really look and see how Norway does it? Norway uses the income from their massive investment of their oil resources. They use the income. That's what we should be doing. We can't mouth off intergenerational and all these kinds of things. And we're using all the money today. All the money we're using up today in these crumbly roads. And we're not satisfied with the gorging of the trough of our NRF's money. We gone on another binge, a parallel binge of borrowing. A parallel binge of borrowing. That is going to saddle us and future generations with enormous debt. Praying and hoping that more FPSOs and the more pumping of oil will save us. Well, as they say, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. What we have now, we should use wisely, invest wisely, consume wisely, so that we pave the way for our future, our children's future, our children's future in perpetuity. And all the dependencies we came through during the colonial times, post-independence and so on, we could reduce that significantly, at least on the economic front, if we invest the resources, the God-given resources, if we invest it wisely. But it seems to neglect us. But more on that perhaps during the same podcast here. And I'm happy again for Ms. Jorlins because she has sounded the correct note. She has said that the oil income must benefit all the people, not a select few. She knows what she is speaking about. You see, from her day one in her address, she has plugged that right away. She knows what she's speaking about. She would have observed the developments and the jostling and the maneuvering in Suriname. And of course, she would have observed what is taking place in her neighbor, Guyana. And what in 6 years, from almost 6 years, from 2019 of forced oil to now, the deprivations of the mass of the people in Guyana and what it could lead to. She would have listed that, and she made it upfront in her speech that oil income that is expected to come to SONA must benefit all the people, not a tiny elite that is happening here in Guyana. And I say kudos to her. May you have a fruitful 5 years, and that your words will come to pass. It's still a long time out before oil income flows to your country, and you got to hope that all of these developments that are taking place don't dampen the expectations as it relates to the likely income to come from your oil resources. Walk safe, Miss Jorlins, in your rulership, and always take the people into consideration. All right? We hear too often about people and people and people and people being the center of development and all these kinds of stories. But then down the road, the presidency or the prime ministership or whatever is the head of government in that particular country or head of state, it gets captured by this elite, the very elite that you talk about and you are weary of. Last introductory point I want to make is that yesterday I read where APNU, in the form of Eric Phillips, was lamenting the cost of holding the annual celebrations in the national park. And he was saying that notwithstanding contributions by the government of Guyana and the, what are these people called out of Britain? The name began with a G. Who, oh Lord, not good luck. They had benefited, or their grandparents or whoever else back in the day had slaves, and they had benefited from the payments that Britain had made after slavery was abolished. And they had come to Guyana to give their apologies on behalf of their foreparents. And they've set up a foundation. And so a party, APNU, is getting some contribution from that foundation to help with the festivities in the national park next month. So apart from those two sources, or notwithstanding the contributions of these two sources, Eric Phillips is bemoaning the fact that they're $30 million short. $30 million short just to hold that event. Just to hold that event. And he's out there requesting financing from benevolent and other persons and corporations, companies, and so on, to make up that deficit. You see where we are as a people of African descent in this country? Do you see? You think Eric can go to 30 African businesses and ask for $1 million each to help defray the costs of a prideful, joyous celebration like the Emancipation? You think so? You think any other ethnic group in this country will have that difficulty besides perhaps the indigenous people? It must be a sad thing that the two foremost groups at the beginning of this, what we know now as Guyana, the two foremost groups, I'm not counting the white people who brought Africans here, who they captured from being freed people and brought them here as slaves and enslaved them for all those centuries. But when we came Africans, we met the indigenous. And today, in terms of the pecking order defined by whatever you want, class, income, professions, whatever you want, the two that will clearly be at the bottom will be Guyanese of African descent and Guyanese of indigenous descent. How ironic. How ironic. I know we got upset when Terry said, I think was in Canada or so on, that had remarked that Africans were at the bottom of the ladder. I see people pillory him for it. I didn't, because he was stating a fact, not in a derogatory way, but he was recognizing the state of play of a people who came so long and built this country and end up getting nothing, end up owning nothing or a pittance, and whose status had dramatically fallen over time. So now here is Eric Phillips in a celebration that means so much to Guyanese of African descent. It means a lot beyond putting on a dashiki or an African attire or cooking African foods or so on. It means a lot to us from whence we came and where we are going. And last year there was this huge attempt to divide us by other people trying to compete with AGDA, putting up a celebration to compete with AGDA, to divide us. Now we're 30 million short. Can he go to 30 African-owned businesses and ask for $1 million each? Can he go to 60 African-owned businesses and ask for $500,000 each to make up this deficit? Well, let us see. Let us see. I hope he will be able to give us. And note I said African, because it's not that we not going to accept a contribution from an Indian business, a Chinese business, and so on. It's not that we're not going to do that. But this is a celebration, national, but it's a celebration that belongs to Africans, Guyanese of African descent. And in any case, why should he have to be out there begging for $30 million when we got people like Hess and Exxon and CNOC and all the others exploiting our resources over there? And Exxon seemed to have all this money to dazzle us with a lot of frivolities, global super league, and all these things. And you're telling me, you know this celebration is of import to Guyanese of African descent. You know it's a national celebration. You know it's a major celebration on the calendar. And you can't send a check for $250,000 to AGDA. You can't send a check without them having to come out begging for money. But meanwhile, you got your so-called Greater Guyana Initiative. A turtle here, a shell beach there, a stadium at Palmario, and all these other different things. But where are we as Guyanese of African descent in all of this? You can't send a little small piece, as they say, for us to enjoy this festival in a grand way, that this man got to be out there begging for $30 million to close the gap. Look, man, as I said, somebody has to talk up for us. Because as you look around daily, and I will come to maybe some more of it, you just got to look around. And you ask yourself, where are we Guyanese of African descent in the context of the development of this country? Where are we? You hear that if the PPP win, they can get new labor and migration laws. You think that coming of new labor and migration laws, which may formalize what they're already doing, unformalized, is intended to promote or expand the numbers of Guyanese of African descent, or people of African descent living, working, enjoying citizenship in Guyana? They're just trying to formalize what they are doing informally already. I don't go to any one of them institutions that are just open or a work site or any sort of thing and hear people speaking Swahili, Igbo, or whatever the case may be, or definitely don't have an accent that sound Guyanese. I don't see them. No, I'm not suggesting that they may not have one or two. But the last statistics that Home Affairs was forced to put out after questioning by thing bears out what I'm saying. Bears out what I'm saying. People don't like you talk about these issues. You're meant to remain quiet. Because if you talk about them, you're racist. And the few who decide to talk out because it's becoming more and more unbearable, even your own in your party or whatever else look at you suspiciously. It's as if you have to stay quiet, endure the insults, endure the wants, and so on. Well, I said to people, look, man, in a couple of days' time, I'm 68. I probably done got a toe in the grave already. Label me whatever you want. But this is not for me. This is for my children and their children and their children and all the people who look like me, whose foreparents suffered under the most brutal, inhuman system known to mankind. And say whatever you want, which is what you don't want to do the studies, but anecdotal evidence showing that we are the bottom of the ladder, or nearly the bottom if the indigenous people are presumed to be the ones at the bottom. And you're trying to lift us up by what? A cash grant here, a $5,000 there, a weeding contract here, and so on. And then you're quibbling about numbers, about poverty, lying that the World Bank removed the data set on poverty that shows that 48% of the people are subsisting on less than US $5.50 per day. Lying about it. And the World Bank in today's paper had come out and say, yes, that is the data set we're using based on 2021, which is the last survey that was done. And no, we have not removed anything from our website. And yes, that is the data that we are using to formulate policy in our interactions with the government and so on. Some people in this country believe that you could manipulate information for the purpose of the international institution. You could manipulate it for the Guyanese because most times Guyanese don't even seem to care whether it's party 8, 50, 60, whatever. That is how bad we have gone. And those who got the hearing of the Chronicles and the Guyana Times and all these other newspapers and news outlets and so on can spew the propaganda. They have access to the data set and they know that poverty has declined below 20%. Where are these figures? Where is the data set? And if you got access as a private citizen, why the whole public can't have access to this? And why you continue to lie about the census. Many of us are aware that the census has been completed. We are aware that the census has been completed. And almost 3 years on, when Ashley Singh went out there and says he has asked Stats Bureau to speed up the work on the census, it's almost 3 years he said so. You're going into elections and the entire opposition don't have an indication of what the census is saying about the population distribution, by occupation, age, geography, spatial distribution, nothing. Everything is guesswork. Everything is guesswork. But the government has that information. When are we going to get institutions in this country that are sufficiently autonomous and independent as to serve the interests of everybody? From the Office of Commissioner of Information to Public Procurement Commission to the Auditor General's Office to when are we going to get genuinely independent offices that we could rely on to fill that very important oversight role? Other people can go on websites, their stats, their official stats website. Jamaica is a fantastic example. In the Caribbean, Barbados is another one, Trinidad. Fantastic examples. You can go on their website and get live information, living information, access to information. But in Guyana, simple information is worse than extracting a wisdom tooth. It is a sad development. And Eric, I know you work very hard. Continue to do the job that you're doing. We shall overcome. I hope you get the 30 million. I hope you do get the 30 million. And when public pension pay this month, I could give you a little 5,000 or 10,000. I know it's not much, but if all of us put a little 5,000 or 10,000, we'll get that 30 million. And we'll be able to enjoy ourselves. If only for that fleeting moment of that day, when we put aside our worries about who we're going to eat tomorrow, whether we're going to wake up alive tomorrow, whether by natural or unnatural causes. And we could enjoy the camaraderie and reflect from whence we came and try to figure out where we are going as a people, as individuals, and how we could demand our fair share of the corn and what it means for us and how we can get it. And it leaves no doubt in my mind. We ain't going to get it under this government. We're not going to get it under any PPPC government. We're not going to get it. So it's up to us to determine whether we want to waste that critical vote come September the 4th, or whether we want to see the longer view for us and our children and our children into the future. But we'll come back to that. I jump ahead, but hey, time on this program moves so fast. Some people after they finish the program, they will text and say, man, I wish you could have gone more and so on. But hey, Be thankful for the little that we got. And we have always been a thankful people. Be thankful for the little that you got and that you get, and let it be the seed that is being planted. So you go ahead and water that seed, and when it begins to flower, it will bear fruit, and then you could smile, right? As I'm guessing, as if we were to contribute to Kadaki's program, he will be in a better position even to hold the program longer. But sometimes you have to remember this, that these things, as he says, it don't run in water, and we don't have too many out there, notwithstanding his appeals, who are able to improve his financial situation such that he can bring more of these programs or linking them. So yes, I appreciate your accent, but hey. So anyway, so we had nomination day recently. Nomination day was at Monday. Oh yes, Monday. And it looked like a festival for a working day, because if election falls on a work day, they will normally, or in recent times, have given it as a national holiday or something, to allow people to go and vote unimpeded and so on. But not so Monday. Monday wasn't a holiday. But the number of people that turned out there, in terms of not only the I got to say now, three main parties, boy, in terms only in terms of numbers of people turn out, plus the other minor parties, AFC and the other ones. When you put them together, it must be a scenario here where we have a large number of unemployed, because I can't see, certainly in the public service, I can't see people reporting sick on that day and being seen in the parade, or whatever you want to call the tramping or whatever, going up to the Humaniano. And I can't see a lot of those people on their annual vacation leave or so on. So is it that a significant number of those people are unemployed? Is it? I think it may be a rational conclusion that a significant number of those people is unemployed. And what does that say for one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with one of the highest per capita income? What does that say? Miss President Joylyn Simmons is on to something. Again, I have to advert to her speech. She's on to something. That this oil resources must benefit all the people of the country. And if 5.5 years on, since oil was first flowed in December of 2019, and we can't get it right, when will we? When will we get it right? So we now learned that from 22 parties, totally ridiculous, we're now down to a manageable 7. We are now down to a manageable 7 parties. And according to today's papers, only 2 of those parties so far, PPPC and APNU, have submitted lists that are, I'm going to use the word, flawless. I'm not, that's the word that's used in today's paper, flawless. And that the other 5 parties may have some issues, some minor and perhaps one of them major. But I'm sure they'll be able to correct them. In the case of AFC, for example, their campaign manager or whatever, Miss Nicola Trotman, or said that they don't understand what on earth GCOM is talking about, because they had previously done the same thing that they had done. There was nothing. There was no complaints, but now there seem to be complaints. GCOM seem to be making up these rules as they go along, and it doesn't bode well for a transparent and accountable election. But I am more than hopeful that AFC will solve that, and all the other parties will get through. The appearance of what I saw on nomination day leaves a lot of hope on the side of the APNU, but leaves a lot of concern for this election generally and the direction in which it's going, and which in future likely to go, which is that while it is accepted that you have to have a treasury chest to go into elections to be a serious contender, what we are seeing in these elections is nothing but vulgar when it comes to money. It's nothing but vulgar. You start from the incumbent, who has access as the first government in the history of this country to the kinds of resources that would make most countries envious. This government had access to over $6 billion of oil money alone over the last 3 years, because they withdrew 600 plus million US for the 2022 budget. And thereafter, but flows of over 6 million, not counting 2025's intake as yet. They had access to that. They had access to an expanding economy, because the economy has grown by leaps and bounds thanks to the pumping of oil. And so therefore the tax base will have expanded in nominal terms. Nominal terms. The tax base has regressed in real terms, and it has regressed in relative terms. As you have seen, they have made no big speeches about the fact that ECLAC a few weeks ago in their publication said that Guyana has the lowest tax to GDP ratio in the single digits. In the single digits. Ordinarily, you'll crow. But that is not a statistic, as I've shown on this program, to crow about. It's not a statistic to crow about. It means while the economy is growing, and growing appreciably, and growing in real terms, your tax base is shrinking. Your tax base is shrinking. It means that you are collecting taxes from less and less goods and services, either by choice, or a combination of choice, and let us say non-choices. And the non-choice is the ones to do with the increased smuggling and increased tax evasion and tax avoidance. And Guyana has experienced both. by choice, because the oil sector, which is the dominant sector in Guyana, operates as an enclave sector, drawing from the other non-enclave sector and giving little back. What do I mean? So that enclave sector pays no income tax, right? By agreement, pays no income tax, and pays no other kinds of taxes by agreement, pays a bit of a royalty and a bit of profit share. That's about all. There's something of withholding tax that comes by operators, some operators who operate in the sector. But meanwhile, it draws from the other sector. It draws labor, it draws services, it draws goods, and that is the one that is causing harm to the rest of the economy. Because it's a voracious user of imports. And those imports have to be paid from income earned by the other sector, the non-oil sector, basically. And so we import cauliflower and all these other different things that are alien to the society. And that has a knock-on effect on the local population. Because if cauliflower is being imported for those expatriates who come and accustomed to eating that and mushrooms and whatnot, if you want to keep up with the Joneses, you have to be seen to be buying the stuff. And wrong seedless tomatoes coming out of Miami and so on. If you see the colonials who come in here and they plantocracy and so on, and they're buying that, you have to be seen to be buying that. And it has a knock-on effect. And it's not to say that that sector doesn't buy some local goods here. Yes, they buy the boro and the baji and whatever else might be grown here. They buy, of course, the top quality. And whatever is left is what is sold in the market for you and me to buy. And that also will carry a price. So that is part of the cost of living thing, but we're not dealing with cost of living today in a full sense. We may deal with it next week. So you have this situation now where money is playing a huge role. And because the incumbent has access to this huge set of money, together with its ability to call in all the favors that it has dispensed over the last 5 years to individuals, groups, companies, etc. They have that ability to call in. So when you hear the PPP holding a barbecue, why you think it's like thousands, you count thousands of people, as opposed to a barbecue hold, say, by APNU, where you may count the hundreds, or a bingo, hundreds. And why you think they are able to host a barbecue and it only costs $1,000 and so on? That's a freak. The real money has already been handed in or has already been promised. So they have a financial chess that is many multiples that any of the other parties can expect to garner and mobilize, with the exception of WIN. In addition, of course, the incumbent came up with this rules of helping people who are unemployed 2+ years ago, and telling them, look, we're going to take care of you. We are going to give you 10 days work and we're going to pay you 40,000. I think they're now up to 50,000. It is estimated that about 50,000 people are within this thing called 10-day workers. And instead of them being attached, which they probably are, to different places, learning the art, helping out, tripping over each other, tripping over the established workers and so on. They not instead, in addition to, they are now forced to attend political and non-political events on fear of being dismissed or days pay being deducted from this pittance that they are being paid. In addition, of course, to them being exploited because they don't pay NIS. And if they happen to get injured on whatever job they have been assigned or attached to, they have nothing to get. And I cannot understand how these labor unions that we got in this country could allow such a situation to occur by none other than the biggest employer of labor in this country, the government. None of them, as far as I remember, has come out and said, no, government, this is wrong. This is wrong. And even if you start out by saying, listen, this is temporary, 6 months, I'm doing this for, this program will last no more than a year and whatnot. But this now has now become a permanent program with almost all of the groups contesting these elections saying, not only will they keep this thing, but they will expand it. They will expand it. So there's now a permanent feature. And the government ought to know that once that thing passes a year, it's no longer temporary, even though you're not signing any contract with them. 2 years, now 3 years, they can be temporary. They have rights that are akin to if they were permanent. Where are the labor people in this country? Eh? Where are they? Oh yes, I forget. Many of them are now aligned to the ruling government, the ruling party, unashamedly so. Yeah, please don't ask me nothing about Mark Light. I'm not going to mention anything but Mark Light. I said a lot about him earlier this year. Is it earlier this year? Last year. Last year. And I was very prescient in what I was saying. So that he appeared on the PPP's list of candidates is no surprise. And happily, it didn't come as a surprise to almost everyone. Everybody knew what was happening. It was just unfortunate that the masses, which are the teachers, had to suffer because of that. But anyway, so you have the PPP on the one side with this massive amount of money that is able to dole out this money, rent a crowd, and so on. They have the available 10-day workers who must turn up and unfortunately turn up in their red shirt that was given to them. I know one of them who was in the crowd there. I know, I saw it on TV. I wasn't there, but I saw the person on TV. And I could tell you that person will never vote for the PPP. But you want a crowd? Hey, take it. And then on the other side, you got this win. You got this win. We invest in nationhood. Well, I'm saying to you, everybody is allowed to follow who they want for whatever reason they wish. But when you have a couple days out of an election, a party that appears at first glance to be able to muster large numbers of people behind a so-called Pied Piper, who has not been able to signal one measure, policy, program. Listen, I'm not criticizing you for not doing it, you know. I am not criticizing it. In fact, the political analyst needs to study this. And don't come with the usual platitudes, oh, the people are starving, the people want change and so on. Indeed, people want change, but they want change for the better. And you would assume people are rational beings for the most part. And therefore, somebody would have said to them, listen, you ain't got a job? Vote for me, I can give you a job. And this is what I will be doing, guarantee make sure you get a job. You don't have proper health care? Vote for me. I will bring a national health care program into being and so on. But you have not heard any such thing. This man has put a new spin on politics, which is say nothing. Dress well, speak little, smile, and if you have some attributes of being handsome and so on, and of course some other attributes which I won't mention here, it is likely that you could exploit that gap that has been created between an incumbent government that seems to have ignored the great mass of the people and the rest of the opposition. And he looks like he's going to buck a different horse too. Because you know what they said about short people? Oh, they have to make up for the height and they all doing things. No, this guy has been able to get a following. But then on nomination day, it is argued that he had the largest following. And had they not stopped the people's buses from coming down from Linden, or there's some spurious thing that they had chaos on the East Bank Road and so on. If they got chaos on the East Bank Road, so what? You can't, look, police, you can't stop people from going about their ordinary, lawful business. If they were breaking the law, yes, you got a right to stop them. But how you stopping these people conveniently and telling them how they got confusion on the East Bank Road? If they want to go into the confusion, so be it, as long as they line up orderly and so on. So who you think you're fooling by saying, well, you know, they had some chaos on the East Bank Road, they're building the road. They all know that. They all know that. But when you blundered, you should have get those people to start moving down the Linden from about 3 o'clock in the morning. So this excuse would not have come about from the police. But notwithstanding that fact, their observers claim that they had the largest contingent among the big three, now called the big three. But then yesterday or day before yesterday, it was shown why they had the largest contingent. Money was passing. Money was passing. This guy and his family are multi-billionaires. They got money to burn. They are our Elon Musk. And Elon Musk could have comfortably shelled out, was it $200 billion to Trump's campaign? Comfortably. Elon Musk now is the world's richest man with a couple $100 billion to his name. So what is 200? That can get right off the taxes, especially in the big, beautiful bill that has lower taxes for the rich and so on. So they could have the 200. But this guy who has lost significant income over the last year and a half or so as a result of sanctions and removal from different things in Guyana, still commands multi-billion dollars. To such an extent that allegedly you could promise people $50,000 to put on a t-shirt, put on a band, and come in allegedly. $50,000? About it. If that were true, and some people at Square Revolution saying they were promising $50,000, you hired 100 minibuses at least. Let's say each one of those minibuses can carry, let's say, 20 people. Is it 20? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's say 20. So 20 times 50,000. That's $1 million, right? That's $1 million. That makes certain. 50,000 is 4 zeros. 20 will make it 5, and 2 5s 10 will make it 6. Good. $1 million. 100 buses with 20 people each. That's $100 million just for the people to turn up. That's $100 million. Then you got to pay the buses, and then the all other expenses and so on. So let us say the man spend a comfortable $200 million just for the nomination day. Just for the nomination day. That is the extent to which money is buying democracy in this country. Meanwhile, APNU showed that you could still get a crowd the old-fashioned way, because APNU got money. They can't rent 100 minibuses. They can't pay people 50,000 or even 5,000. But they showed that you could get people the old-fashioned way, which is knock on door to door, talk to people, and convince them, not only your hardcore supporters, but convince other people the correctness of your policies, the correctness of the leadership, and how you will benefit. And they had the third largest contingent, not by far anyhow, but they had some of the most robust, energetic, diverse set of people who were not paid anything to turn up. In that rain, followed by sun, they were not paid anything to turn up. And so they, together with the other smaller parties, had the most genuine participation on nomination day. And I don't know what y'all keep saying about Arbery or said about Arbery in the past, but one thing he showed you, that he didn't lose any of the skills that he and his other comrades were involved with in the post-1997 elections, when they were able to put on the road consistently over 15,000 people daily. That eventually caused the Hormones Turner card to come out. He showed that he didn't lose any of his organizational ability. And for all those who said that he can't, he's not a good, likable, this, Dr. Narrow, the man got 50 years plus in his party, through thick and thin, through charismatic leaders, from charismatic leaders, Forbes Burnham, to a stern leader like Hoyt, down to Corbyn and Granger, and he survived. And he learned the ropes, and he bided his time. And now you come telling me, oh, he's not the right one, we want this and we want that. And he has shown you consistently, even in the local government election of 2023, when you all said the PNC, APNU was dead and buried, when the greatest money was put out there for local government elections by any party, much less the PPP, using government resources to hire and buy people. And what? He whipped them in Linden, he whipped them in Georgetown, and he whipped them in New Amsterdam with zero money. Zero. I know, zero money. Zero money. I know. Why I know? Because one of them who now left and gone to the Win Party had called me. And said things were rough. Called for financial assistance. I said any day, any 5 cents, 10 cents, I got to put because that party means a lot to people and people who look like me because of what they did for us, what they saved us from. And he whipped them. And you could say whatever you want about it. He has the organizational ability to bring diverse people. Which brings me to the list. None of them, even his worst enemy, got to admit that he has the most diverse list of all the lists that have been presented. He has some nice, clean, fresh faces there, blended with some mature people. I call them mature because mature in the sense that they were either in the last parliament or in a previous parliament, and so they're bringing some wisdom and some experience with them. Together with some older stalwarts. The man who put the 1G in Guyana. Yes, the man who put the 1G in the party, Tony Vera, is back under the APNU umbrella. Days ago, he and Rambaran, Jacob Rambaran from Channel 13 fame, formed a party. And both of them now have joined with APNU. And read what both of them said, why they are with APNU. They said APNU is the only party capable of joisting and competing with the PPP, and only party capable of being elected. And therefore, they're not going to waste their time nor their vote on the other smaller parties. I don't think it was a damn indictment on the smaller parties in terms of their programs and so on. But it was a realistic understanding of politics. What is the understanding I'm talking about? You have to allow your brain and not your heart to lead you. I had this conversation with a very close person just the other day. I asked, by the way, I hope you vote in APNU. The person said, I didn't have that in mind. And so we had a long conversation about who you're voting for. They told me, and I'm not going to say it here. And so over the next hour and a half, we had this rousing discussion, opening our eyes. And ultimately, I believe I was able to convince why a vote for the particular part that you're talking about, and it was not WIN and it was not PPP, is a wasted vote. Because you were allowing your heart and not your brain to guide you. You know, many of us, when, I will take myself. I ain't use anybody. Take myself. At school, I like the science. Well, not I like the science. After Taught Farm, they begin to stream you. And the way how they stream you was a very unscientific method. So we had, I think it's 3 Taught Farms or 2 Taught Farms. And what they will do is take the top 10 in the final exams in Taught Farm, and they tell you all you going into science. Something like that. So I ended up in science. 4 science and 5 science. But chemistry wasn't my, I realized very early chemistry wasn't my bailiwick. But anyhow, when I left school, I said to myself, wait a minute, what profession can I get into in the sciences? You know, particularly physics, because I really love physics. I look around, I didn't see anything that thing. I said engineering was out because I didn't have a clue to technical drawing. So what will I do? I was great in mathematics. What subject can I find that where I will use heavy mathematics? So immediately when I left school, I went straight into GTI, Government Tech Institute, and started their evening course in commerce, ordinary diploma in commerce. So now I was going to switch into business away from the sciences, a new area. And I grabbed it, I grabbed hold of this. I said, yes, this is my calling. This is my calling, economics, management, you know, statistics, you know, blended with some commercial law and other law, management law, and so on, labor relations, so on. Beautiful. I said, this is my calling. And in addition, it allowed us to, I mean, look in terms of earning money, because you know, you come from a poor background, you want to earn money, the old-fashioned way, not them ways I see these days, the old-fashioned way. And when you look around in the sciences around that time, you said, what am I gonna do with science? I'm gonna become a teacher and teacher. How much the paying teachers? Nah, that ain't gonna work. Well, is I gonna be a scientist? What is be a scientist and so on? But business, you had accountants, you had, you know, all those different professions. So I said, yes, this is my calling. I allowed my brain and not my heart to rule me. And I'm asking our people today, allow your brain to rule. Yeah, I love all of those people in those small parties. Several of them are my friends, I hope still. Because I don't differentiate between who I criticizing or praising, friend or no friend. As I said to you, I got a toe already in there. So what you can do me? No. And criticism is healthy. But to defeat the PPP, you have to have a grand coalition. You can't defeat the PPP when you are going to form these little pieces of parties and then hope to get some joinder afterwards. Joined for what? To get a seat? Is that what you are about? Getting a seat in Parliament? I mean, after the 12th Parliament and what you had a seat there, what difference did you make? And you were among an opposition that had 31 seats, and not counting the other one, that left back seat that was given to the other one that took it and whatever else. It was supposed to be a 32 opposition, but it ended up being 31. You were among a grand coalition, 31, and you had a seat there. What difference did you make? Yes, you had some fantastic speeches and all this, but what difference did you make? And now you gone and you want joinder and all this kind of thing to what? To get a seat in Parliament to make what difference? So, voters, let your brain rule you and not your heart. Yes, you like certain people in the smaller parties and so on, but they themselves know already they can't win. Some of them not even contesting in all the regions. I heard my brother London talking today. I see he's quoted in today's papers, talking that as Prime Minister, he is going to think for changes in the Constitution. And all those are pie in the sky things, because you can't change the Constitution without the PPP and the APNU. Changing Constitution requires big numbers, 2/3 and all this kind of thing. So all those things are pie in the sky. There are aspirations, and nobody say you shouldn't have aspirations. And he talks about why you have to get GCOM asking for at least 6 contests in 6. Why you can't contest in 1? You're not dealing with local government elections, my friend. You're dealing with national elections. National elections, not local government elections. And for national elections, you must be a national leader who might have emanated from a local constituency. I hope you get that. So you can't go to national elections and talk about you should be able to contest in one community or one area and himself. What kind of story is that? Eh? What kind of story? But I like Pastor London. I like Pastor London. He was there in COVID and out there. He shows a level of heart that not too many of our political leaders have shown in the opposition. But in the context of Guyana, you have to be objective. You have to be very objective. And this level of objectivity is what I feel is missing. Is missing. But yes, the list, I like the APNU list. I give kudos to Aubrey. Fantastic list. He has been able to put together some people I never even thought he would be able to put together. And of course, the coup de grace is Terence Campbell, who he has been able to pull in. And I think Terence is a wonderful addition to the list. With no disrespect to Elson Lowe and all the others who had behind the scenes, who had put in a lot of work. No disrespect. But Terence will be adding the depth of his experience, the depth of his academic training to the ticket and to any position that he gets in government or in opposition. And before anybody else thinks that I left them out, all the others on the list are fantastic people. Sekou Andrews, Dr. Todd, Dr. What his name is, the Dr. Williams, Coretta, coming back, my good sister, Ferguson, Annette, wonderful woman. I hope you get a bigger role in any new government, right? Fantastic woman. Sherrod that came across, fantastic guy, a people's person, Joretta, you know, all fantastic people. And of course you have our my really good friend Voldo. She's back on the list and who will bring a lot of Voldo is the Teixeira of our ticket. Long standing, faithful, very wise, and everything else. You can't do without them. No party can do without them. And all the others, fantastic ticket. And I know they will do exceptionally well. If we all vote with our brain and not with our heart. So yes, I'm one of those. Long before David Hines and all them talk about don't split the vote, who was sending you the message through the Jordan conundrum? How do you divide a minority to achieve a majority? Implied in that conundrum is you can't split up the opposition votes and expect them to win elections. You can't. We have to put behind us all the personal stuff and the personal baggage and the hate and the self-hate and so on. The PPP doesn't have that to worry about. You will always hear them saying their base is intact. What you think they're sending? A coded message. Their base is intact. And then if you know your base is intact and you solidify that base, you could go and see if you could poach from your enemy or from your neighbor. But when you're in the opposition and you got to worry about your base, all your energies are taken up in trying to hold that base, much less to be going out there to get the additional support that you need to take you over the finish line. And it's not made easy by people who got egos and personal grievances and grudges and all these different things. I say again, like I said last week, you think a man who has been in that party for 52 years or how many didn't have to go through personal hurts, personal insults, passed over, denied, and all those things, and never one day flinch from where he was going? Let people who were in the several marches in 1997, when they had those consistent daily crowds of people put out there to put pressure on the PPP, that resulted in the Hormonston Accord, that resulted in nothing really, because the Hormonston Accord is was just another wasteful agreement that was observed more in the breach. Similar to another accord, the Linden Accord, that was made again after they had the killing of those people. All these are, unless you have in a position to make certain that these things are implemented, there will just be another signing. And don't you think people were hurt when they asked Desmond Hoyt to make certain that you don't do certain things and you end up doing them? Now I see y'all blaming Granger, saying never again youths are going to think Granger. Nobody never asked these people. And of course, in Granger and Desmond Hoyt's case, they never went back to the people and explained to them their decisions, so you could understand why the people themselves have taken up this position. I understand that too. I understand that too. People were out there with Desmond Hoyt marching left, right, left, right. They were there keeping watch, keeping vigil. Tell Desmond, no, don't go down that road. And Desmond went down that road because he felt in his heart that he had to bring an end to this, and that also he had to bring back law and order and everything. So he went down that road. But please, he never went there and talked to the people. Tell them like it is. Explain to them. These are rational people. They understand. They understand. And they will be hurt. But they will be there for you. If your foot soldiers are not there for you, then the war is lost. The battle is lost. You have to be able to trust people, and people must be able to trust you and your judgment. So today, I want to use my program to, in my own personal way, say mea culpa to all those who were in the 2020 and who in the gusto and so on, and who were hurt at what happened and so on. And especially that they did not get an explanation. All they are hankering for, even today, they just want an explanation of what happened, so that they could appreciate and understand and be able to move on. By the way, congratulations again to His Excellency Granger on his 80th birthday a couple days ago. And he has his challenges, his health challenges, just like me, I have in mind right now. But God's richest blessings and hope that you will continue to enjoy life. But if you do hear this program, I urge you, President, that people out there, you don't have to, if you want to do it on your public interest programs or whatnot, just to talk to them. Let them know what informed in those last days decisions and whatever happened. They will understand. They will understand. Even at this late stage, they will understand. I will come back to this matter here shortly, but I want to get in this business about the observers before I come back to it. You know, I remember I did a program sometime last year and I talked about these observers. And so again, we are being inundated with all of them, the usual suspects. So far, we got right now the Carter Center. And I think the Commonwealth is trying to put together one. And I'm sure CARICOM is going to follow suit. And the OAS. The OAS, a couple days ago, Ambassador Albert Ramdin, who is the OAS Secretary General, signed a memorandum of understanding with Sam Hines, Guyana representative, for an OAS observer mission to come to Guyana. And it's to be led by, again, they said, by Bruce Golden, former Prime Minister of Jamaica. I say up front, OAS. This is wrong. This is wrong. The 2020 elections was a very controversial elections in which Bruce Golden was the head of the OAS mission and also had problems here. Whether you like it or not, whether he is, quite frankly, a problem for a significant part of the electorate. You got hundreds of people that you could pick. But please, save us from Mr. Bruce Golden. I'm not saying he did anything wrong or so on, but perception is 9/10 of reality. Perception is 9/10 of reality. And so find somebody else. Find another person. I'm sure you could find many past prime ministers who were willing to accept the role. But I feel, and I believe the opposition should quietly suggest that they're not objecting to Bruce Golden because of any personality thing or so on, but only from the fact that he was here, he's superintending the OAS observer mission in 2020, an election that was highly controversial. And we do not want that memory in the form of him to be back here to observe. So yes, OAS can send a mission, but please find another person to lead it. That's number one. Number two, what on earth is the purpose of these missions? Some of them come in a couple of days before because they ain't got money, right? The organization don't have money to send them earlier. So they come in, they go and they see GCOM, they go and see opposition, they go and see government, and half the report or three-quarter report has already been written. Why? Because all they do is go back to what was written by the previous mission. And by the way, EU also, they have signed for the EU to send a mission here. All the usual suspects. And what have they accomplished? All their reports have gathered dust. Many of them admitted, EU, for example, admitting that very little had been implemented. Very little had been implemented over the past 4 years or plus. Very little. Carter Center, is the same thing they're seeing. So under those circumstances, why are you coming here to observe an election where you cannot put 3,000 people on the ground to cover every one of those ballot boxes? And why are you coming when you cannot do anything about the fact that GCOM is saying 757,000 plus people are eligible to vote in the elections when there are barely 800,000 people in this country? That GCOM is putting every spoke in the wheel to clean the list of dead people, people who live overseas and have died, and all these kinds of story. Nothing has changed. In fact, it has gotten worse. Post 2020 elections now, all kinds of people are registered. And I tell this government, any new government coming in has to be careful about Guyana's image, because Guyana's passport now is rising and going up. And there's a lot of clamoring for it. And just at that time, you have weakened the ability to get a Guyana passport by allowing all kinds of people to attest to the fact that you were born in Guyana so that you can get a birth certificate. You think those big countries are going to allow us their free movement and visa free and whatnot under these circumstances when criminals and other kinds of people can end up getting a Guyana passport? All this done so that the PPP can avail itself of people to vote for it. And all these ID cards where you're seeing Spanish-speaking people, and you're telling me, oh, well, they're Guyanese, they're descendants of Guyanese, and so a lie. And now you're threatening if people are this and that, the law will be this and that. Listen, if you are the incumbent government and you had the greatest amount of resources that could come to any government over the past how much years in Guyana, and you got to resort to these kinds of dirty tricks and dirty maneuvers to win an election, it is all the more reason for people to go out there and vote these people out. All the more reason. And observer missions, tell me in good conscience why you're here. Why you're here. I saw Carter Center up front and central at the launch last week, Sunday, of the PPP. I was scanning the crowd and I asked around if they were present at the launch of the APNU's campaign 2 weeks ago. And I couldn't find them. Now, maybe they weren't in the country. Maybe. I don't know. And I know for a fact that they would not knowingly not attend that rally while attending others. But they must come out and say why they were not seen at the APNU rally. If they were not in the country, say we were not in the country. Appearances in these highly charged elections are important. And the observers cannot appear to be one-sided or partial. In the 2020 elections, it was alleged that some of the observers went to dinner with a high politician in the opposition at the home of a high politician in the opposition. You can't want to be observers, no matter how collegial you are. And that is what these observers have to be discriminating about. When they pick people, they should find out as far as possible whether these people have any relationship with any of the contestants, they must. Because appearances, if you are going to be, or it's being alleged that you had dinner because it might be a colleague from the past and you went home with them and have dinner, how it gonna look? How it gonna appear? And we all know, even in the legal sense, even the appearance of a bias, or even if there were no bias, the appearance is enough to vitiate the case. The classic was the Pinochet case that was vitiated or something because I think it was the wife of one of the judges was a member of a human rights organization or something to that effect. There wasn't a case where the judgment wasn't right or so on, but the mere appearance of a bias, he wasn't biased, but the mere appearance of the bias is enough to vitiate the case. And you can't be attending any dinner or lunch or any collegial talk in I won't say secret, but in the dark and expect to be. And some of them behave in a manner that was disrespectful to the then Minister of Foreign Affairs. I say, ask again, observers, why are you here? What difference you think you can make? Beyond observing couple ballot boxes and then claiming the elections were free and fair. Many of you are ensconced in Georgetown. And the few who take the chance in those small planes to fly in the thing, to fly in the interior, so on, are seen in body arrangements. Again, appearance. And many of them are afraid to go in other places where it might be deemed to be unsafe to go. You think the government didn't know that? You think they're going to want to appear to be doing any jiggery pokery in front of you? And they know you could only hang around for half an hour or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. They know all of this. And on this basis, you are going to say the elections have been thing. You know, it reminds me again also of the CARICOM report on the recount. I tell you, look. So opposition, you might be splintered and all kind of thing, but you need to come together and iron out some common approaches to these things. Y'all can't find 3,000 plus people to think all those. So y'all come together and determine how y'all going to divide up this corn to make certain that you have proper representation at each one of these ballot boxes. You remember what the recount show? That ballots for Region 1 were in Region 6 and all this kind of thing. How does a ballot in Region 1 end up in a Region 6 box? Ask that. Ask that. So this election, as you know, ain't gonna one on who present the best program. It's not gonna be one on who present the best program, and so on. These things are strategic, as you well know. I don't have to tell you that. These things are strategic. So let me hear y'all coming together. Not to talk of what could have been if you coalesce, but in terms of moving forward, what are some of the arrangements we need to put in place? We need to coordinate and so on in terms of monitoring those ballot boxes from the time the polling place open to the completion of the count. Permanent presence. If somebody has to go to the bathroom, then somebody replaces them. food is supplied on time, and they don't have to look hungrily at the other people eating. And how to pool your financial and human resources to make certain that you cover all of those boxes. Don't worry, Observer, they done write half or three-quarter of the report already. They done write that. I've never been enamored with observers, never. I don't know what the hell they're observing. I don't know why they even bothered to come and put their name to these things, especially since their report means nothing to the incumbent government or the government coming into power. If they don't put certain things, look, I'm not coming, because why am I coming? I'm wasting precious resources to come here. I made a lot of recommendations. You're not bothered with them. Therefore, why you want my name to put that important stamp of approval? Well, no, I won't be doing it, because we have observed so many recommendations. None has been, or little has been, paid attention to, and therefore I'm not going to be putting my name onto that. And please, if you could only feel 4 and 5 people, don't bother to come, man. Don't bother to come, because they will use your name as that stamp of approval. When you know to your heart that you couldn't do anything beyond going and talk to GCOM, going and talk to the opposition, going and talk to the government, going and talk to WIN, and going and talk to the smaller parties, and you take a couple of photographs and you put it in your report that you've been talking to these parties and so on. It doesn't help. It doesn't help us. It makes us look like fools, like clowns. You're playing us. So I'm back to the APNU. And of course, both the APNU and AFC have been putting out their manifesto out there well in advance. And now you could see why people are wary about putting out their ideas early and upfront. Because you got the government waiting in the slips to pick up your ideas and put it in their manifesto or whatever and brand it as if it were theirs. A classic case, typical case. AFC says they are going to set up a development bank for women. But that was preceded by the APNU already, who had said they were going to establish a development bank. Now you hear the mighty PPP grounding at their friend's place on the East Bank there, the hotel. They're grounding. And what are they coming up with, among other things? The setting up of a development bank. One of many of the ideas that they are stealing from the other parties and claiming how they have grounded the people, and the people said this is what they want. By the way, I'm gonna continue, but I can't help but bring in this particular one. They're going to reform the tax system, they said. And guess what they are going to do? Guess what is the main thing they have put out there in terms of the reform of the tax system? They are going to reduce the taxes on four-door, what you call them? Those long vehicles. They're going to reduce the taxes on them. Look here. They're into anything about in this reform about income tax, corporate taxes, incentives to different regions and so on. The highlight of their reform of taxes that they're grounded with yesterday or whenever at this hotel. That's why I'm forgetting the hotel on the East Bank. They're their friend's hotel. at East Bank that they had loaned money to. The one thing that they were able to come out with is that they're going to reduce the taxes on these 4-door, 4x4 vehicles. Vehicles that were originally granted duty-free concessions because they were to be used in the agricultural industry to fetch produce. Now you can go to a certain, or not only one, several of the major liming spots and see them parked up there. Their owners in there enjoying a good time with duty-free vehicles that is ostensibly supposed to be used in the agricultural sector, particularly to bring out produce from the farms and so on. I wonder how many of them are being used for that purpose. But that is what they do. So now they're gone with the APNUs and the thing development bank. But you see, they can cost the PNC and so on. But let it be known to our young people that the issue of a development bank is not new. It's not new. Many of you are too young to recall that there were a number of indigenous institutions that were set up in the early 70s by the then PNC administration in furtherance of their feed, clothes, and house the nation by 1976. That was what was called the Kenneth King Development Plan. The Kenneth King Development Plan, the FCH plan. And in that plan, to realize some of the objectives and the goals that set in them, a number of indigenous institutions were set up. And among them was Guy Bank. Guy Bank was established in 1973. Guy Bank, Guyana Cooperative, Agricultural, and Industrial Development Bank, Guy Bank. It used to be situated at Parade and Bark Street. It has been pulled down now. That was once supposedly the site for the new law school, but I don't know what the site is to be used for now. I don't know who owns the property and so on. Guy Bank. And it was set up essentially to help all those who couldn't make it, who couldn't get access to the regular banking institutions, to promote the cooperative sector, the agricultural sector, and the industrial sector. Commercial banks are, as you know, they are not great risk takers. And for obvious reason, the money is not their own. The money has been given to them for them to invest so that their savers can get a profit. And so they can't take undue risk. And to invest in the agricultural sector, for example, is taking more than undue risk. A man loses his crop, he can't pay back the loan. You can't pay back the loan means the bank is in trouble. The bank got to register as a loss. And too many losses written off can put the institution in severe stress, bankrupt it, and savers' money gone down the drain. So commercial banks can't do that job efficiently and effectively, right? And that is why they ask for assets to back whatever loan they got. And very often, people in the agricultural sector, they may not own the land. They may be leasing the land and all this kind of story. Right. So Guy Bank was set up to remove that or to lessen the burden of conditions for accessing loan to promote the agricultural sector, the cooperative sector, and the industrial sector. Guy Bank performed a great role, but as Guyana sank economically and financially post 1974, because 1974 was when we had the great rise in sugar prices, but it didn't last for too long. It didn't last for too long. So progressively, Guy Bank took on loans that were given to it by the government of Guyana. So IDB will give government of Guyana a loan, and that loan will be on lent to Guy Bank, right, for disbursement and so on. So what is the long and short? The long and short is that Guy Bank was closed by the PPP in 1993. So it lasted 20 years. It was closed by the PPP. Ostensibly because they said Guy Bank was bankrupt due to mismanagement and so on. Well, you know, anything with PNC, it can always be mismanagement, right? They can always claim mismanagement, right? But I want to send you to a letter written by Kenrick Hunt, who was one of the earlier general managers of Guy Bank and who left in 1993, just before the bank closed. I want to refer you to a letter by Kenrick Hunt. It's in Starbuck News, dated December 22nd, 2009. And he said, in part, that the closure of Guy Bank had nothing to do with mismanagement. It was solely the responsibility of the PPC government, who failed to implement the recommendations of the Auditor General, the then Auditor General, who was Gulsoran, in relation to foreign exchange losses that were government liabilities and not Guy Bank's liabilities, right? The then PPP government could have invoked the laws of Guyana, in particular, Section 52 of the Cooperative Finance Administration Act, Chapter 7501, to accurately reflect the profitability of Guy Bank that were in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Guy Bank was only bankrupt because of these external loans that were taken by the government of Guyana and given to Guy Bank to on-lend to borrowers. They weren't Guy Bank's responsibilities. And I recall, because I was a director of the Guy Bank in the latter part of the that would have been the latter part of the 80s, early 90s, until we came out of power in 92. And I recall one of the external loans, a well-known businessman, he's dead now. He and his brother died, but they run a big multi-billion-dollar business in Guyana. He came and the board awarded him the loan, but apparently he got inside information that there was going to be a devaluation the next day. So, on the same day that he signed the loan, he came back the afternoon to pay off the loan at the old exchange rate of 10 to 1. I think we were going to move from 10 to 33 or something like that. He got inside information and Guy Bank refused. Guy Bank refused. And so you had a lot of that. A lot of that. And they like to talk about mismanagement, but let me tell you something. A significant number of the borrowers were close or had a close affinity to the present government. And you're talking here about peanuts, about a 5 million here and a 10 million there. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. These stories must be told. And once again, a large number of borrowers were rice. And since we were lending, in some cases, on the basis of their profit, on the cash flow, and so on, as I said to you just now, when the rice crop goes south, those people can't repay. I hope the people who are talking about reestablishing a development bank appreciates the difficulties in running such a band. I hope. Because when you take a tractor as an asset, and you go for recover it when a loan becomes due and not being paid, A, you can't find the tractor, or B, if you find the tractor, the guy would gladly ask you to recover it because it's been stripped of its key parts and it's just taking up space on his land or something. I hope you know. And I hope all those who jumping up in the air and saying yes, 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 realize that many of them would not get anywhere near access to the resources. And just before I end quickly, let me talk to the youths. Let me talk to the youths. I will talk to the youth forced through the diaspora. Diaspora. Notwithstanding the whole wealth that we got in this country, remittances rank among the top 5 earners of foreign currency in this country. In fact, it may very well rank among the top 3 after petroleum receipts and gold receipts. Remittances may rank 3rd. So diaspora, you have a great role to play in these elections, not only in terms of your ability to come home and vote, but in terms of what you send home here. And you need to make your money count. You need to tell everybody, from octogenarian to teenage eligible voter, listen, hey, I ain't want to hear you say you're voting. Go out there and vote solidly for the APNU. B, this money that I send you, that I slave in every month or whatever to send you, I am doing so on the understanding that there is a better life to be created for you. And in my book, that better life for you can be created under the present administration. So I am sending this money with the understanding that you will go out there and vote for the APNU. I am also sending this money with the understanding that Baba, who asked me to send that Jordan boots, that you will tell him about our history and why he must vote and why he must go out there and vote for the APNU. Don't discourage him from taking any money that the other party is willing to give. Don't discourage him, because that money belongs to you. Whether it's money from the government or whether it's money from taxes that should be paid to the government. Let him take it. But educate him that when he takes it, his future is at stake, and that he should go and vote for the winning party that will look after him or her. Diaspora, you got a role to play. Let your money count. Don't just send the Jordan boots and the money for the new school clothing and so on without letting the recipients know that you are doing this for them too. And they should not be persuaded, swayed, or otherwise moved in directions that are contrary to their interests. Amen? And to the youths, it is unfortunate that, as I said earlier, and I did in mea culpa, that you are put in a position where some of you are saying never again and so on. But I don't think you understand and appreciate, and part of that misunderstanding and so on is that you weren't told and you weren't educated. And APNU, it is not too late. I like the walkabouts that I'm seeing. It is not too late to educate the people as you do your walkabouts. Not don't tell them this and that. Let them understand where you're coming from, where this is where this is concerned, and why it is important for them to vote for the APNU. See, a lot of them now are following what the government is telling them and what others are telling them, that the coalition didn't do nothing for them, which is grammatically incorrect. Because if I follow that statement, it means that coalition did something for them. But we understand what they mean, that they're saying that the coalition did nothing for them. If permitted, I can quickly go through a number of programs that were designed by the APNU with particularly youth in mind. I can tell you up front about the SLED program that was created in 2015. SLED, Sustainable Livelihood and Entrepreneurial Development Program, that was created in 2015 to provide support for the expansion of the local economy in communities across Guyana, to assist micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, both existing and startups, to create jobs and to promote local and economic development. Notwithstanding all the challenges we had and obstacles, right there in 2015, $115 million was put in the 2015 budget to be disbursed over a 4-month period, because remember the budget was in August. So you got September, October, November, 4-month period, $115 million right away. Is that a situation where we didn't consider youths? And over that small period that we had, when we were forced to put $35 billion in Gaisuko to save Gaisuko, another 6 point something billion in rice to save rice, and all these different monies, over that period we were able to put in this SLED program $655 million. $655 million, all dedicated to youths, for your businesses, the small business, the startup, the hairdresser, the black pudding lady, the barber, all of these different $655 million. Now you may well say, but I didn't know or I didn't see. I know many cases where people went out there looking for youths and bringing them in to sign up and so on. Maybe it's I could tell you personally, I wasn't happy with how that program was executed. It was initially put under local government, under Ronald. Then it was moved to Ministry of Human Service and Social Security, where it was thought to be more appropriately put under Volder. But immediately when the program was moved, Volder was also moved soon thereafter to replace Norton at Health, George Norton at Health. And in her place came Amna Ali. So the bulk of this money was under Amna Ali's care to be distributed and for these things, for these different places, right? But I will tell you this. The PPP coming into power saw the value of this program. And while they were chopping and changing, getting rid of coalition programs, they never got rid of this program. To such an extent that over the period 2020 to 2024, the PPP sunk $8.135 billion into it. $8.135 billion into it. Now, if the program had the same objectives, targeting youths, micro, small, and medium-sized business, where are these businesses? How do they account for our $8.135 billion over the period 2020-2024? Where are these businesses? Youths don't fall. Then there was the HAYES program, Hinterland Employment and Youth Service, HAYES, HEYS, that was aimed to empower indigenous youth in the hinterland regions and through skills training and business development support. It was launched again in 2015, and the program provided training to thousands of young people and facilitated the establishment of numerous small businesses across various sectors in the targeted regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. When we came in, they said how we dismiss how much thousands of what do you used to call them? Something workers. But those poor indigenous people were being paid to do PPP political work. And we created the HACE program for them to do work to uplift themselves. Nothing was taken away from them. All of them were incorporated in the new HACE program. They were given a monthly stipend in which they were trained over 6 months, and then followed by, at the end of the period, they were given a bulk sum for help them in the startup of their businesses and so on. At the end of 2018, there were 2,054 small businesses that were created, including businesses such as poultry rearing, crop farming, retail businesses, fuel depots, honey production, hardware stores, cattle rearing, and so on. And up to 2019, 4,000 participants from 215 villages had been targeted, and a government investment of $2.5 billion up to 2019. And you're saying we didn't do anything for youths? Here are 2 quick testaments on this program. You had a 17-year-old named Natusha Harris from Kaburi Mission, Pomeroon River. Says she grew up in a single-parent home. She said, quote, "The HACE program has brought stability to my life. Upon completion of the HACE program, I started to accumulate cash for the construction of my own home. Then I taught the chickens to practice the skills that I learned," end of quote. She then said later, "I started cultivating cash crops like cassava, pumpkin, edos, red beans, tomatoes, peppers, etc. Then there was 22-year-old Dan Richards from Wakapau Village, Pomeroon. He said after receiving the first payment from his, he spent it to purchase cement molds and a sling of cement to make cement blocks to supply the newly constructed wing of the Wakapau Secondary School. And there are so many other testaments I can't bring because our program has run a bit, right? But there are other programs such as the National Youth Corps, right? The National Youth Corps was one of several training opportunities provided by the government to empower young people and foster entrepreneurs, right? 1,000 young people were targeted for training to become employable or start their own businesses. And this program was guided by 4 pillars: education, equality, empowerment, and employment. We used to call it the 4 E's, and this program was launched in April 2019. There was a precursor back in the day, those who are old enough to know that the National Youth Corps was first launched on January 4th, 1968, right? It was aimed at addressing the challenges of young people face, such as poverty and lack of vocational education. The Corps lasted 7 years and it was subsequently incorporated in the GNS, the Ghana National Service, right? And it targeted roughly 1,200 people who were trained in various agri and industrial skills. You can tell me what is going on now and what you saw in the WIN procession and nomination day, that we don't need a National Youth Corps to absorb large numbers of unemployed people, give them a skill, train them, give them some money to start up their businesses and so on, rather than this money that's going down a black hole, right? All this money you claim that you give the SLED 8.135 billion over the last 4 years, and yet still you have cost of living so high, yet still you have such high unemployment and so forth. We must begin to ask more than those questions, right? There were other programs like the Youth Innovative Project of Guyana, which was first funded in the 2017 budget. And it was aimed at any Guyanese youth who is aware of issues or challenges or difficulties in their community, and they wish to propose a solution to improve it. And of course, we know there was LEN, Linden Economic Network that they had discontinued before we came in, and immediately coming in 2015, we restarted the program, and people like Darren Adams up to this day praise what we had done for the youths. And when they come back in, they slash the program and cut it out again. So there you go. And then we increased the amount that was going to the Small Business Bureau to $100 million. And the same Aubrey that they like to decry. I remember Aubrey was put in charge of youth empowerment. And one of his programs and his signal success was the night schools that he created and had a great success with them. Obviously coming from his days when he used to lecture at Critchlow Labour College. And you know, Critchlow Labour College was an alternative school for those who didn't make it in the formal school system. And I know, and I'm aware of it because he came to me a lot of times for help, and I did because it was a great program. As soon as they came in, they cut it out. So we must ask ourselves whether we are interested in getting a $5,000 now, or whether we're interested in clamoring for what is rightfully ours. And would you get it if you give this government a second term? Imagine people crowing about how much regional hospital you created. You had a big shooting in Buxton day before yesterday. Or yesterday, whenever, I think it's day before yesterday. And imagine you just open and more regional hospital. And everybody but one was taken to the Georgetown Hospital. Everybody but one was taken to the Georgetown Hospital. Not to the Enmore, which is close to Buxton. Because you have to go past, you just have to come the other side. But no, they ran them to Georgetown. Why? You're building all these beautiful things, you're cutting with ribbon and claiming how, oh, look, we think and so on. And what? They can't take off what the thing, or nobody has any confidence in them. And so Kedaki, I thank you for the time, man. I could go on and on and on. It's so, you know, there's so much to say, but there's only so much time you got, and I know you have given me a bit more. But like I said, I will do my part. Educate the people, and it's for those who have been lucky. I say lucky to find themselves on the list, because it's a privilege to be on the list. Hundreds and thousands more wanted to be there, but it's a privilege. And each of us has to add our bit, and to let us drive home the points, so that those who are still disenchanted, and they got quite a few, we can bring them back home. All right. So until next week, God spare. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I recognize you left me off the list, but I did on the list. Thank God. I on the list.
Yes, Kedaki, I said, you see, that's why I said I didn't want to call everybody, but I know Kedaki is there. David Hines is there. Everybody and their family, they're there. All right. And you're a welcome addition to that list, Kedaki. You were there in the past too, but I'm happy you're there again too. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Yes, I was there in the past, and unlike some people, I didn't catch feelings when they didn't send me to the National Assembly and so on and so forth. I didn't catch no feelings. I go with that, because I keep telling people my involvement in the political process is not about self-aggrandizement, but is more about the society. But I think Mr. Jordan did a terrific job this morning. Oh, and before I allowed him to go, sincerest condolences on the passing of your body, and I do hope that his family and immediate and extended family will find strength, especially knowing that they have friends and family like you in their corner. We'll keep him and his family in our prayers. Yes, it is 4 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. Well, we don't normally take calls nor voice notes on Thursdays. And so I want to remind you, I want to encourage you to come out on Sunday. to the rally. The rally is at Melanie Shopping Plaza area. I want you to come out to the rally and let us continue to show that tremendous support for the APNU AFC. The win is falling apart. Perhaps everybody's going with the win now, following the Doggy Samson episode there. I think Ramaya had gone onto the win platform, and he has now abandoned ship. You know, I said to you, I don't know. The lists are not out officially in that. The list of people on the varying lists are not known. I don't think they're known. But I just said to you, a lot of the PPP enablers are behind the formation of WIN. And you're going to see it for yourself, right? You're going to see it for yourself. I see Jagyo trying to pelt stones at the APNU WPA coalition and saying that what was evident on nomination day is a backfire of some clandestine arrangement made with WIN and the APNU WPA coalition that they will not hassle WIN. And that's what I always tell you. I say, you know, the thing with the PPP is Jagdio and we especially, they are two terrific real politicians. They could spin, they understand misinformation, and they have no qualms about using it. And so every opportunity they get to misinform the population, the voting population especially, they do that. And that is what they're about. But when the list is out, you will see. When the list is out, when you can get access to the list and you peruse it, you will see where the people in the list. Apart from that, you have to get behind the scenes. Maybe now that Doggy says he has left the party, maybe somebody needs to sit quietly with him and let him tell you who the intellectual authors are. And see where the Ravidevs and the Calamidines, no, that's not Calamidine, Bishrams and so on, see where they fit in. But keep it real. I'll talk with you tomorrow for another program. But like I said, ensure you go out there on Sunday. Let's keep the momentum going. Okay, folks? Have a great one. Goodbye. Much love.
We ready, time to remove the curse. The APNU Coalition campaign now moves to the east coast of Demerara, Melanie Village, on Sunday, the 20th of July, at the Melanie Shopping Plaza from 4 p.m. Come hear from our candidates. Come hear about our people-centered development strategy that puts people first. Come hear from our Prime Ministerial candidate, Eureka Burnett, our presidential candidate, Aubrey C. Norton, and others on Sunday, July 20th from 4 p.m. The Melanie Shopping Plaza will vibrate with a people-powered campaign. APNU, putting people first.